Hey y'all, hey, it's JJ Conway, and today I'm going to introduce to you our charity partners for the 7th Annual Building Wealth Together Conference, Erath County Veterans. Here today I've got Chairman of Erath County Veterans, Brad Oglesby, and then I also have, Gary, I don't know your last name. What's your last name?
Spangler.
Gary Spangler, who is also on the board and an avid supporter with his and his wife's business, Gary Joe's Food Truck. Voted the #1 food truck in Erath County for 2021. All right, so today I want to introduce you guys to our audience and have you all tell them a little bit about what Erath County Veterans do, what Erath County Veterans as an organization does for veterans locally. Brad, would you like to start?
Yes, I would. We support our local veterans in the county. We support them with food, our prayers. We help them get to and from appointments. It's one of those things we do because most people overlook the veterans. It's overlooked. And Erath County Veterans was put together almost 20 years ago. We've done everything we can to help them. We've gone out, we've looked for homeless veterans, we've done what we could to help them. We've taken them to Temple, to Waco. We've even saved a few from committing suicide.
Yes.
We go out of our way to make sure they need everything they want, need, and pray for.
And let me just pause for a second, because I think some of our listeners and watchers today, those who are watching or listening to it on the podcast, they may not understand the gravity of what you just said. So sometimes if you're not a veteran, you really don't understand what veterans go through. But like, we're out here in Stephenville, Texas, and the surrounding area, and the nearest VA is what, an hour away? The nearest VA clinic.
Brownwood's the closest one, and then Waco is more of a
right. So you've got 60 or 70 miles. You've got somebody who's maybe even 100% disabled by the VA. They don't have a good support system. The medical appointments are far away. Even though
chances are transportation is going to be a bad deal too.
Yeah. And so that's one service that's very important. Now, another thing that you mentioned, Brad, that I really would like to talk about is helping veterans avoid suicide, because PTSD and those lingering impacts of no longer being part of that active duty band of brothers or sisters is really, really pervasive. Can you talk a little bit about that? And then we'll get Gary's opinion as well.
The problem with coming out of the service, you've been trained to, if you're in the infantry, you've been trained to kill, and you become overly jumpy, you become overly alert to everything that goes on around you. If you're in the Navy, you're more aware of your fellow seamen around you, and you become more alert of what they want or need. In the Air Force, well, let's put it, the flyboys are more aware.
I got the mic. Let's be nice to the Air Force.
The
Space Force.
They do make tactical decisions from miles away, though.
Yes, they do.
We prep that battlefield real well for the rest of y'all.
That's true. And you got to look out for them because they're the ones that are flying into combat. So they have their stress as well. So, I mean, and then you got the Marines. I mean, those jarheads are easy. Those guys have gone through enough stress because the world expects a lot out of them.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make any difference what branch of the service you've been in. They all have stresses of their own. And as a peer-to-peer counselor, my job is to listen, absorb, and try to talk them through it. Most of the time, it's just sit there and listen to them and help them get through that pressure. Now, I've had to submit 2 of them to the Waco mental facility. I've stopped 2 from committing suicide. And that was the hardest thing to do, because then I had to live with that in my head. And
because you take on those pains. Take them on.
To my PTSD. And so it's very difficult, and I just...
But you're saving lives.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. As a peer counselor, you also work with families, right?
Yes, the families are as important to the veteran as they are to each veteran brother and sister. Because without the family to help support him, his stress is going to get worse. So you have to have a coherent family unit to survive. And yes, they may end up in a divorce, but then they still have each other, and they will always be connected by a family.
Okay. Well, I know for me, being a female veteran here in Erath County and moving away from my family, which is on either coast, having the support of other veterans means the world to me. Gary, what does Erath County veterans mean to you?
Well, there's a lot of folks that I'm sorry. There's a lot of folks that I've known. I'm a military brat. A lot of servicemen in my family. Different wars: World War II, Vietnam War, Korean War, and really and truthfully, Bradley's right. They don't get the proper recognition they deserve. They do not get the help and assistance that they deserve, and they don't. They feel like they're being overlooked or ignored. And this is absolutely wrong, because when these people sign that paper and they go into the service and they take upon that oath, and they don't know what's going to happen, but then all of a sudden they lose the best friend on the right side. They have to live with that. They have to live with the casualties of war, and it's my job as a civilian and as a person that understands that people have and experience pain, and as of the group, I am also it's not the minister, the chaplain of the group. I'm the chaplain of the Veterans Association, and I feel like the good Lord, if anybody can put them together, the good Lord can. But we have to rely on the good Lord to lead us forward. We put him at the helm of our organization and continue to push forward to try to help these people out, because they gave so much for us. There's no reason why we shouldn't give back to them. And that's why in our food business as well, we're more than generous with what we do as far as our events or anything else is concerned, charitable events, fundraisers, whatever we have to do, because we're going to make sure that they know that they are loved by many.
Yes, and so appreciated. It's one of those things that I didn't even understand until after I left active service, is that, everybody says, thank you for your service, but they're not home with you in the middle of the night when all of those memories flood back, and you think about your buddies that you served with overseas, and you think about the different things. And I know that me being Air Force and somewhat flying a desk, and my You might laugh at, well, he will laugh at this. The audience may laugh at this, but my job in the desert was actually to go around and interview all of the agencies that were in the theater and figure out what they needed and how to get them the support. So clearly the Air Force knew how to maximize my talents as an interviewer and a writer, but still the things that I saw, you can't unsee that. And the effects that come home, a lot of them are hidden effects. They're internal effects. They're mental effects. And nobody can see that just by looking at you. They leave scars that you can't see. And this organization is doing something about that. And so let me recap the different things that this organization does. You all provide financial, medical, as far as transport to and from appointments. You guys provide camaraderie support, counseling support. There's all kinds of support that's provided. Is there something else that we want to add for the audience?
Just know that there's somebody that you can trust in, and especially if you're hurt, you've been through a whole lot. Call somebody. Call us. Mm-hmm. Call me. I'll come pray with you. Whatever we have to do. give you food, whatever we need to do to make your life a little more comfortable, since you gave us the freedom that we now experience and are taking for granted.
All right. Brad, would you like to offer a last thought?
Yes, I served in Vietnam. I was known as a jungle rat. You were a sand baby.
Yes, you tell me that every time I see you.
Now, every war has a name for its soldiers. I know it's funny sounding, but the first time I mentioned that to a gentleman in Waco when I was taking a PTSD course, he looked at me and got a little bent out of shape. But once we explained it, he was like, well, I did spend all the time in the desert. And I said, that's why we call you sand babies. And
Just your favorite word.
I thought he was just making fun of us young bucks, you know?
yeah, well,
Although it's nice to feel young again. Thank you for that. Because as I was active duty, I was like the old lady on deck. So I'm really happy to feel young again.
you know, it made him feel good. You know, and he looked at me and goes, wow, a jungle rat? And I said, yeah. And he goes, did you ever crawl into a tunnel? And I said, once, and I'll never do it again because the suicide rate for jungle tunnels were high. You know, and I said, half of them didn't survive.
You don't know what you're going to run into in there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Could have been a bomb. Could have been could have been an enemy.
Of course, we had other words for them. And that's why I became a peer-to-peer. Our founder is named Walter Spang.
Walter Spang is a good man.
He put this unit together 20 years ago, and we've been running it ever since.
Well, I appreciate what you all do. I especially appreciate the fact that there are veterans here serving other veterans without the red tape of the government and without a lot of the other things that are holding people back. Now, before I bring up another special guest to talk specifically about women veterans, I want to remind the people how they can help support Erath County veterans. First of all, there should be a link at the bottom of the screen or at the top of the screen. I'm not sure where it's going to be when this airs, but there should be a link for a donation if you want to donate online. If you are local to Erath County, you can go to Gary Joe's food truck and you can actually make a donation in person with cash. You don't have to worry about all the electronics. You can just go right there in cash, make a donation, and make sure they know it's for the veterans, and they will be sure to pass it along like they have done many times before. All right, well, I want to thank you, gentlemen, for being here with us today. I want to thank you, audience, for your support of Erath County veterans and veterans in general. Now, what I'm going to do is we're going to take a quick pause, and I'm going to reset, and we're going to bring somebody up to talk about the needs specifically of female veterans. I'm JJ Conway. Thank you for watching. All right, everybody, it's JJ. I'm back today. I'm with Karma Watson, who is the treasurer of Erath County Veterans. She's going to read the Erath County Veterans mission statement, and then we're going to talk about specifically female veterans. Karma, welcome.
Hi, how are y'all today? Are you
Fantastic.
good?
Oh, yeah.
All right, now, with Erath County Veterans was founded to provide for the needs of veterans residing in Erath County, Texas, including but not limited to shelter, food, clothing, counseling, advocacy, financial assistance, physical welfare, spiritual welfare, medical assistance, and employment counseling. We shall provide by the best of our ability to meet those needs utilizing donated funds, internal ECV assets, and volunteers, as well as other service organizations. And as to that last part about donated funds, we are a private 501c3 charitable organization. Mm-hmm. We don't get funding from the government. We don't. It's even been hard for us to get grants and all that kind of. So our donated funds are from fundraisers, mm-hmm. bake sales, food sales at the food truck, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just sitting in front of Walmart with a donation bucket, and then private donations. Okay, and from a few of the local businesses, we'll donate. You know, once a year we go knock on doors and we get money. As far as utilizing, we have a lot of volunteers and other a lot of us in the organization, we use our own funds when it comes down to it. If the organization doesn't have the monetary funds available to help someone, we'll pull together and we will put our own resources in. And then we will, if another organization can help a veteran better than we can, we will put them in that direction, because we want them to get the best help possible.
Yes.
For whatever reason that they need it.
I love that. I love that. Now, I wanted to bring you on, and I already had to talk with Brad and Gary. I wanted to bring you on specifically, Karma, because for me, I find that there's a lot of issues with being a female veteran. And my initial exposure to this is when I came home from my deployment, and my house was sold, my stuff was thrown out. My ex had run up over $800,000 in my name, and the dust settled. Here I am, a single divorced mom with all of this debt, and there were no services to support somebody like me. I didn't have a place to live. I didn't know how I was going to pay the bills. I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know how I was going to feed my kids. And because at that time I was a major at the time in the Air Force, I made too much money to get any of the local support services. And as far as the veteran services that were available at that time, especially those for homeless veterans, they were all for men. And people didn't like to take in women, especially women with children, because it's a liability of your children risking being assaulted or something when they're in participating in some of these services. And so that was my initial exposure to the fact that there's a lot of female-specific issues that veterans have who are women that the men might have support for that the women don't. Are there other things, especially out here in Erath County, that women veterans need to be extra supported? I'm not saying that very well, but where they need extra support.
Well, it's women's issues are totally different from a man's issue. Between physical issues, mental issues, financial, getting help financially as a woman, period, whether you're a woman veteran or not, is hard. Okay, and we've had women veterans come to us. They needed clothes for their kids. They needed food to be able to, it's like, okay, we'll take you to the store. We'll help you get whatever you need. The basics, at least, okay? We've taken them into our home. A woman veteran, she needed a place to do her laundry. She needed a place to, take a shower, because she couldn't get into any of the motels around here because she was a woman and nobody would help. So yes, we've even brought them into our home and helped them. The talking about the women's issues, the psychological issues, and those are totally different than a man's. Okay, they really are, because women are a lot more sensitive. We have even helped some people get into apartments. We try to liaison with some of the apartment managers around town to help either waive or cut down the deposit amounts so that they can have a safe place to stay.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And the VA is pushing this new initiative to go out and reach women veterans, but right now it's a grassroots thing. And so when you support Erath County veterans, you are putting your money where it is most needed in this community. And so for that, I want to thank you. Karma, I want to thank you for coming on today.
Yes.
I know it was informal, and I was like, hey, you're here, let's talk about women. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate you for what you do with Erath County veterans. This lady right here, she comes up with so many ideas, and not only does she come up with ideas, but whether it's her idea or somebody else's, she executes. You need people on your team that execute. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you, and thank you, audience, whether you're listening or watching. Thank you for your support of Erath County veterans. Again, you can follow the link on the screen to donate via my website. Every drop, 100% goes to them. I'll even cover the processing fees. Or if you're local in Erath County, you can come into Stephenville and you can go to Gary Joe's food truck and make a cash donation, and they will make sure that that money gets to Erath County veterans. That's all I've got for you today. Y'all take care and be blessed.
All right, thank you.